Okay, so I wanted to take the opportunity to show you more of the app now that you have done the Powtoon presentation and were introduced to it. Now it's time for a more hands-on approach to it. So what I've done is I've opened up my MathKid. This is grade 1, but as we mentioned before, there are versions going all the way up into 4th grade. What I wanted to do was to show you an idea of how I would utilize this in my classroom for a student who would be struggling. As a first grade teacher, it's common for some students to come in from kindergarten who would be struggling in the practicing numbers aspect. So counting and just number identification. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to show you how we go about setting this up for an individual student. This is very important because this is your way of being able to track your students' progress and being able to see the growth that they're making through each session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on my mouse and we're going to come down here to where it says student profile and I'm going to click on there. I can set this up to have a total of 25 active students if I'd like. I currently have this set up for 5. This can be something useful if you have maybe only one computer in your classroom or a tablet, so you could set up those 25 accounts, each individual having their own. You're going to notice here my user 1, I have myself. I'm going to come down here to the user 3 just because I know that I've been messing around with the user 2 and there's some data there. So what I'm going to do is I click on it. I'm going to put in my student, and for this I'm just going to use the example of TJ just as a student name. Okay, and now as I click out of there, TJ is now associated with user 3 and I can click back in my profiles. Now I want to make sure that I have TJ available, so I'm going to click on there and now I am in the app under TJ and everything that is done here is this individual's work. Okay, so through here I have my practicing numbers. I've gone through and I've established that TJ struggles with a lot of these concepts. Now, a lot of this information comes from classroom assessments such as our everyday math assessments or even data coming up from kindergarten. A great way to go about just kind of getting an idea of where they are is letting the students start here. So I'm going to kind of go through this for TJ and I'm going to start on this 1.1 counting up to 30. So all of our parts here are divided into basically what you're focused on. So here's where we're going to align with our Common Core. So here's our practice numbers. I can go along. I have my addition, more addition, into subtraction, all the way into mixed operations, money, telling time, fractions, and basic geometry and patterns. So I'm going to come back here and just go through the basic set here for the 1.1 counting up to 30. Now, when we go into the app, we're starting here, and here we're using tally marks. So the student has the ability where they can go through, they can count, and they're going to guess their answer. Now, as teachers, obviously, this is something we'll do quickly, but this might be something where they may struggle. You'll notice that there's a timer going on up here at the top. The students will never run out of time, but this is something that the app collects and helps you kind of see how long students are taking while they're going through these sections. There's also, they give you a list here of exactly how many questions there are. So right now this is telling me I'm on the first question out of 12. So I'm going to go through here and I have my problem here. I can always click on this button and there's a memo pad. Now for the counting section here, really there's not a whole lot we can utilize with this, but if I should need, I can click with my button and I can actually draw or write or do whatever I need. So if I need to model, say I know there's my 5 and I click down one more and I made my 6, as I'm counting I can use that. This isn't something that is used here in this section, but as we go into higher sections such as the math of adding and subtraction, this is almost like a little piece of scrap paper. So the kids can always do that. They can erase it or they can clear it and close it out. I also have the ability where this button here,
count tally marks,
this will actually read the directions there. So I'm going to go through and just do the 12 questions here just to demonstrate what it would look like. So as I go through, I'm going to do these. I'm going to model what will happen when the student gives a wrong answer. So we obviously know there are 3 sticks there the student would put into. As we hit enter, the nice thing about the app is it gives them the opportunity that they can always go back and change their answer. I can click back and I can change. I'm going to put in a second wrong answer just because I want to show that I can also go down here to the show answer, which gives the student the ability to see the correct answer and be able to make the change on their own. So now the student knows that that's 3. They can go back through and say, okay, if I need to count this again, I have 1, 2, and 3. So that makes sense. Okay, and then I can put in 3 and go to the next answer. So I'm just going to click through these quickly so I can show you the next step here. Okay, and I'd also want to point out that the students get the feedback here as they click enter and they know that it's right. We have the smiley face going across the top. Just something small that just gives them that quick feedback so that they know that they're doing a good job. Okay, so here I am on my last one. And what will happen is we get a pop-up screen, and here it will give me my score. So it says, good job, your score is 11 out of 12. You can try earning a badge by answering all questions correctly. So what it does is it tells me I can go back if I would like to go try a different set of problems within that first group, or I can try this again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try again so they can show you the test feature. So we're going to fly through this kind of quickly here. And the nice thing about this app is it will vary the questions, but the student basically is working on this, and once they have demonstrated that they master here by completing all of them correctly, then they get the chance to do an assessment. And the students actually really enjoy the assessment because then they have the opportunity to earn badges. So going through my last one here, and we have finished the feedback, and now it says that you can go and try a quiz in the test mode. So we're going to go in and try that and take the opportunity to try to earn a badge. So we go through here. I will again kind of fly through these quickly to just demonstrate what this will look like. And so we're almost through. Okay, so we've received our score 12 out of 10. It says you earned a medal. So I can always go back and try it again, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back now, and it takes me here to my main screen. Now, a couple of the features that are great for the kids is that they can always go in here and they can see the badges they've collected. And I know in my classroom, when students use this app, they love to compare the different badges that they receive. There are some students who, when this is just used as a fun activity instead of more of a differentiated activity, a lot of them will go in and find particular badges that they really find fun. And the nice thing about this is it labels underneath so the kids are able to identify what they can get. But for this, we're focusing more on the content. So here, I've mastered the 1.1, and so I can go back through, and now I can move on to the 1.2. Now this is totally up to the teacher. You can consider it as a mastery of counting up to 30, and then going here, you may have found that maybe they've mastered these before. So you may not have to start here. You may have a student who really needs to focus more on counting by tens. And here we have counting by tens and ones. So more of the mixed. Okay? So that's based on the student data. The next thing that I wanted to show you is we obviously know that when we go to the badges, the students have to get 100% to get that badge. So that demonstrates that they've mastered that concept. But you may want to go through and be able to check to see the student's progress through the time on the app. So what we would do is we're going to right click again on our mouse, and that brings us our little toolbar here. And I'm going to go to show results. And there's a lot of stuff on here, kind of looks a little overwhelming, but really there's just some things to really emphasize here. So you're going to notice I can go through and it goes from the time that I've been on here. So I messed around a little bit, like I had mentioned before. Here's my user 2 data, okay, and it tells me what my topic was, okay, what my score was, and then the time that it had taken to do it, okay. And here, this was in a test mode. So let me go up to the last one that we had just done. Here I have student TJ, and this is the first time he's been on here. Here's my date, so you know when they've accessed, the topic, my score, and it also gives that to you in a percentage. So if this is something where you may want to also be keeping track of in another location, say maybe the students have like a folder where they would record their data, this gives them a percentage wise also, okay, the time taken, and the mode was practice. And you can notice that as we keep going, there's practice, practice, and now we've seen this test mode to where the student was able to master the test. Okay. Finally, one other thing that you are able to do is if you would like to use this as a pre-assessment, up here at this mode, we have, notice here, it's clicked as test right now. So since I have taken the test here, it will put me in the mode where I'll take a test here. And I obviously don't want that. So I want to go back and click on this button, and it will put me back in the practice mode. But what makes this feature nice is the fact that if I would like to use this as a pre-assessment for students to see what they know, I can put them in this test mode with the harder questions, and it will give me an idea. Okay, but in general, we would like to have this practice mode so that they are able to practice multiple times. You really don't want the students just focusing on those tests. You want them to build the practice so that they are getting better at this skill. Okay, so overall, I just wanted to show you how the app worked, but really to point out the ways in which the data is driving this instruction. So going back to my results again, I'm showing you here that the student, we're looking for them to have mastered. So here's the student TJ at 92%, obviously is really good, but we want them to get to that point where it's an automatic thing. And so here we have 100%, which then gets us to our test mode. Okay, so that is just a brief overview of the app. It's one of those things where it's really fun just to go in and play and explore, and it makes for a nice way for you to be able to differentiate your instruction based on an individual student need, or you could even use this in a group. The students enjoy using the technology and using it together. It's something where students can also be doing it in a group and almost like a little competition or something like that. Students really seem to enjoy it. So with that, I'm going to wrap up just our basic overview of the app and how it is used. Please feel free to go back and view this as much as needed so that you are able to complete your assignment.